I'm Denise Nicole Battle Price. I've recently been married. Whoop whoop.
Before the opera houses and auditions, there was a little black girl with a voice big enough to stretch across Sunday mornings and kitchen counters. This is where we begin, where the dream hummed itself awake.
I'm a singer. I sing. I grew up singing and love singing. I sang in church. I sang in the church choir. I had solos here and there. I sang at a nursing home with my dad. I wanted to go into musical theater initially. I wanted to be a gospel singer. I wanted to sing on Broadway. I said, I want to sing Lion King on Broadway. And I want to be Yolanda Adams at the same time.
Now, some folks are born knowing their path, but others, well, they meet a guide. A voice in the car that summoned a new sound, a new self.
I was 14. And my teacher then, Dr. Joyce Harding, she introduced me to opera by giving me voice lessons. And initially, I did not want to do opera because I thought that was for rich white people. I didn't see anybody who looked like me that sang opera. I said, what is that? And I heard it before, but I never experienced it and didn't know anyone who had experienced it. Mrs. Joyce Harding, she was like a mom or a great aunt or something. So this one evening in particular, I can't remember if we were coming for a performance or we were headed somewhere. And we were sitting in her car. I remember she showed me a couple of CDs, and it was the spirituals concert of Jesse Norman and Kathleen Battle. And at the time, I didn't know who they were. But I said, they sound really good. Who is this? I was just so entranced. And I said, oh, wow, this is beautiful. She kind of had a moment. She turned the music down. She said, I want you to think about something. I want you to consider looking into singing classical music. And I said, like them? She said, yes. Dr. Joyce had like this congested voice about her. And I say that like, she was like, Denise, I just want you to understand that you have a voice. You're not like everybody else. You know that you're not like everybody else. You are special. That's how she said it. And I got quiet and I was like, what you mean? Like, I want to sing Yolanda Adams. I want to sing gospel music. I want to sing musical theater. I don't want to sing opera. And she said, but Denise, you're telling stories. It's so much beautiful literature. And in the spirituals in particular are telling the experiences of our people, of our ancestors, what we've been through here in this country, the struggles they had to go through. And spirituals weren't just songs, they were messages to each other, what we wore in our hair, everything. And so hearing that and being educated on that, my appreciation grew deeper. But I I felt this resistance. Like as she was talking to me, I was just listening. I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. I just had this strong stance on not doing it. But she told me in that instance, in my stubbornness at the time, she said, there will come a time, I believe, that you will pursue this and it will be so beautiful. You'll have one of the most beautiful voices. So yeah, that was the first seed planted.
Sometimes the journey to purpose requires the scenic route. It bumps, it loops, it reroutes through doubt and pride. But sometimes destiny has a hometown zip code and a choir with open arms.
I auditioned for other schools outside of the Hampton Roads area, didn't get into those schools. And so my voice teacher, Mrs. Harding, said, well, Norfolk State has a concert choir. She said, I think that would be a great place for you at least to keep singing, but you also get to take voice lessons. They have amazing teachers there just to get your start. and see where your path goes from there. So me being the stingy, small-minded teenager at the time that I was listening to too many voices. People were saying, "Oh, Norfolk State, it's ghetto. You know, it doesn't have any class. This, that, and the third." But my experience was different when I went there. So I received a scholarship through the choir, and that began my journey with singing. When I went into school and I started studying at Norfolk State and I started taking voice lessons, and I saw the shift in my voice just by being introduced to technique, understanding. I'm not going to say how to sing because I think that's a natural born ability, but how to train your voice to execute a certain way. I was just used to belting, you know, growing up, singing contemporary, singing gospel music, R&B. Amazing grace. But in opera, it's more so it's all breath. So amazing grace, how sweet the sound. And not saying you can't do that in gospel music and R&B, but classical music is very intricate, very detailed. You notice how I kind of added more emphasis on consonants or vowels versus when I was singing gospel, amazing grace. You kind of just throw the phrase away, but it's still pretty. Versus in opera, amazing. You kind of have to lean in more into the phrase, lean in more into how you're shaping the line, shaping what you're singing.
Not all voice teachers or experiences come with warm-ups and words of encouragement. Some come with ultimatums. Denise would soon encounter a woman who wasn't just a voice teacher, didn't just show up to coddle, but to confront. What came next wasn't just a training, it was transformation.
She told me when I first started studying with her, I cannot listen to any other type of music. I have to talk a certain way. And this was like completely different, right? I was singing in the concert choir. Mind you, I was getting a scholarship at the time too from a concert choir. And it wasn't like it was a surprise because I was warned, but I said, okay. She said, so you have a decision to make. Do you want to sing or you just want to be a regular somebody? And that's how she was. But I needed that. I'm not gonna say it was a slap in the face. I needed that directness. I needed that type of mindset to understand the severity of where I was. It was that shock factor. It was the stories I was singing. It was singing in a different language. And I was like, this is so freaking cool.
Denise went out into the world, Austria, New York City, chasing stages, catching wisdom, and carrying her voice like a passport. Like Black opera legend and Hampton Roads' own Cicieretta Jones before her. She sang in spaces never meant for voices like hers. Where Cicieretta serenaded presidents and royals, Denise found herself singing for Stevie Wonder, vibrating across generations. But legacy isn't just built in curtained houses with curved balconies. Sometimes it's in a friend's homework house with the most honest audience. Imagine a room full of possibility. Juice boxes on the table, sneakers on the floor, and one voice cutting through the noise like sunlight. A new audience, the best kind of critics. Children.
She had about like 12, 13 kids coming. She had her dog at the time. It was this big white dog, and he was so loving, so adorable.
No tickets, no tuxedos, just kids, wide-eyed, wriggling, and unfiltered.
And she asked me to sing whatever I wanted to sing.
And when Denise sang for them, it wasn't just a performance. It was a homecoming.
So I said, I'm going to sing Summertime. Little black and brown kids, and I remember them sitting in the room. They were just finished coming from recess and doing their homework. I started singing, and the faces that they made, I'm talking about, how little kids love something, they're in shock. And, kids will tell you the truth. They like something, they don't like something. But those kids, they were locked in. I saw a couple mouths open. Even the dog was just so quiet. He was just laying there. And at that moment, that was one of the seeds that I remember affirmed why I do opera for us.
What happens when the student becomes the creator? When the lessons bloom into a legacy?
Opera for us. We are an internationally known opera company of BIPOC singers and instrumentalists. What started out with opera was a very intimate performance for rich families. With Opera for Us, I decided to take that but make it more connected with the community. Being a part of all these amazing opera companies, I was able to learn what happens in an opera behind the scenes. And so with Opera for Us, I said, what can I do to make opera more accessible, more relatable for people who've never heard opera, who've never seen or heard a Black person singing opera, who've never thought about their life being told in an art form, an experience. And I said, how can I make this into something that connects with people on a deeper level? Didn't have much money, but I had passion. The one main feedback I got was, you need to keep telling these stories. You need to keep doing this. This is needed.
From the pulpit to the parlors to the platforms that once said not for you, Denise Nicole Battle Price sang her way through. And now she sings for all of us. Visit our website, truthbetoldcommunity.com, to find out ways to get involved and share this episode with friends. This series was written by Jackie Glass and Hannah Sobel, edited and hosted by me, Nicole Hill, sound designed by Trindell Lightburn, and our work has been supported by the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation through a National Park Service Chesapeake Gateways grant. Follow our work by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. We couldn't do this without people brave enough to share their experiences. So thank you, Denise Battle Price.